me for the little guy. Go against giants, I was petrified. Try to shove me out till I dig inside. Fate always works, so I close my eyes. Trust in the process, so aim for the top, so I'm ready for the conquest. Bigger they are, the greater they fall in a contest. Small steps is better than no progress. Hey, envision my vision, they can't envision it. Knew I was special, I know deep down that I was different. Trust in the plans, yeah, I had to be more considerate. Trampling my enemies, the top is where I'm heading in. All my problems, yeah, I had to shake it off. When I put my mind to it, even just fall. Made it through the darkest valley, though I had to crawl. Now I'm heading to the top, yeah, I'm standing on. At the top of the world, yeah, I'm standing on. At the top of the world, yeah, I'm standing on. At the top of the world, yeah, I'm standing on. At the top of the world, that's what I'm standing on.
Shalom, shalom. How's everybody doing today? Welcome to Yah's Chosen Podcast. My name is YCP.
And I'm Azrael Ben Israel.
And we got a good show for you today. We got a special guest, Brother Yawanathan. Brother Yawanathan, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Brother Yawanathan, associated or affiliated with the LOZ Israelites. We're located and based out of Florida. My name is Gift from Yah. That's the meaning behind it. And I'm just here joining my brothers to help support the podcast and help the word get out to the four corners of the earth.
Oh, praise it. Oh, praise it.
Okay. Also, viewers, if you don't mind, like and subscribe to our channel. We want to reach as many people as we can and help support this podcast, okay? So we're going to have a lot of new people on, and we want them to show tell you their experiences of their faith walk, okay? So, Brother Yawanathan, can you tell us a little bit how you actually came out of the Christian church, and how long you was in it actually, and to share with the people, how your walk was according to the scriptures?
So just like anybody, who's from a family of color, you always grow up from the time you were born in the church, A lot of the churches that I was a part of, they claim to be non-denominational, but of course the tenets that they held to were predominantly Baptist, right? You had to be rinsed in the water as well as, giving of the tithes and the offerings and coming every Sunday. So, yeah, that's basically how I grew up. Probably during the course of my time growing up, it was a total of 3 churches I went to. And I guess out of respect for the churches, I won't mention their name, but basically all the churches that I've been to, there were certain questions that I had that the preacher wasn't able to answer sufficiently, in my opinion. So for that reason, I decided to do some deep digging on my own. So if we fast forward to the year 2014, that's the year where I started to come into the truth, right? That was the beginning stages.
Right. Okay.
And then really, there's this thing called the red pill, right? A lot of us are familiar with it in this modern climate, as far as like pertaining to male, female, intersexual dynamics, things of that nature. But in its impetus, rather, it was more so affiliated with just the truth. Are y'all familiar with the movie The Matrix?
Yeah. Right. We brought about that one another episode. Yes.
Right. So since it's more familiar to us with that concept, just the truth, I was like looking at certain videos, and it started out with, like 9/11 conspiracies and all this other kind of stuff like that, and it just led down a rabbit hole of like who owns America, and
Okay. Yeah.
all of that kind of stuff. So when you go down that rabbit hole, it kind of leads one thing to another, and then of course a lot of these people who were making this type of content, they would use the Bible in certain instances to try to substantiate how the system that is set up in America isn't according to what's in the text, although we claim to be a Christian nation, right? So after that, then you start to figure out, okay, the people who they say are the people of the book are the ones that are in control of everything, right? And they always used to bring up Revelation 3 verses 9 and 2 verses 9, right? So they basically would use these pericope of text to substantiate the claim that those people aren't the real people, right? So if they aren't the real ones, then who is the real one? So then I started looking at who were the real ones, and it just so happened that we fit, the bill.
So how old are you, Yawanathan?
I'm 28.
28. Okay, so you said you got into the truth around 2014.
Right.
Okay, so prior to that, when you say you were in a Christian church, was it your whole family, or you were kind of on your own, or was it basically your whole family?
Whole family was involved with the Christian church heavily. avid tithers and giving of offerings and things of that nature. So, yeah, basically the whole family was involved with that.
Okay. And so you said while you were in the church though, but you would have questions.
Right. Mhm.
And did you? Now, I think you. I don't know if you said it or not, but did you actually try to go to the pastor and ask him certain things?
100%. The last church that I attended, which is a local church, I wanted to ask him about Psalms 82 verses 6,
Okay.
right? And there it says, "And ye are gods," right? And I just wanted his breakdown on what that meant. Coming from a background of, Christianity, we were taught that, there's only one God. But in the context of the Psalms, he's referring to the children of Israel as God.
Right.
So I wanted to get clarification on that, and I couldn't get a solid, definitive answer using the Bible.
Okay. I mean, did he kind of give you an answer and it didn't line up, or he kind of hemmed and hawed and tried to dodge the question?
Most definitely dies. He got this Gregory Hines on. He didn't answer the question.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
after doing my independent research and going into the context of that, I started to understand that, the Most High Yah chose his people to be above all people, which is why he called them gods. And when you go to that in the Hebrew, it's Elohim. He's called them to be judges of all the other nations.
Mhm.
And when Jesus come back, he's going to use the remnant, right, to carry out the judgment. So,
Okay.
Okay. So the churches that you went to,
mhm.
there was one particular church that you mentioned, and it was of a different nation. Can you expound on that a little bit, brother?
Right. So, I went to this church, once again, another local church. It was a Korean Presbyterian church. And the way that I got kind of dragged into that was as a result of taking Taekwondo. I'm a martial arts enthusiast. So, what I used to do is during the week, I would like go to the dojo, right? And we would always practice. And some guys that I kind of got cool with, they invited me to church one day. So, as a result of that, I ended up going to their church and I got to see like how from their cultural paradigm, how they worship who they call God. And you can see it reflected in the church and like even the garb that they wore as well. So that was a very interesting experience. And honestly, during that particular time is where I like the final stages of the awakening happened, right? Because I was coming across like I'm not sure if y'all are familiar with Ronald Dalton, Hebrews to
Yes.
Negroes.
Yeah.
All of that information was out there. You have people who are like Gentiles, so to speak, authors like Malin Newitt, who have published sources that our people are the people of the book, right? And I would try to present this to the Korean pastors and the Korean congregation, and they weren't really receptive of that. So after that, I was like, it's time to wash my hands of this situation and just keep it pushing. So
So, were they speaking Korean in the church? Well, how did you understand if they were speaking Korean?
right. So me taking Taekwondo, I learned a lot of Korean during that time. And then also as well, when you have the service going on at the Korean church, you would have one of the guys in like the sound booth area, he would be translated in English while the pastor was preaching in Korean. So you get to kind of hear both languages going on and your brain makes the connections of how they work with each other. So
Hmm. Okay, that's very interesting, brother. Very interesting. So,
yeah.
now I also heard you speak in another language.
Yeah. Because I'm noticing your shirt here it has Dominicano.
Right.
Did I say that right?
Dominicano.
Okay. I said it right then. So tell us a little bit about that and like the brother said about your languages.
So I speak a good amount of languages. I wouldn't say that I'm necessarily fluent in all of them, but Spanish and English are my main languages that I can speak very well, and what some people would consider fluent. Um, Up under that would come Hebrew, right? Since I figured out my heritage is of a Hebrew stock, I took it upon myself in the recent 2 years to try to hone in and try to become adept at speaking that so I could decode the text in a more efficient and culturally sound way. So when we go out and we do our street teaching and our street ministry, I use these gifts to the best of the ability that God has given me to try to get the message out to our people.
Okay, so now were you born there or were your parents born there and y'all moved here?
So my dad, his family is from more specifically Santa Barbara de Samana, right? It is the northern part of the Dominican Republic on the island of Quisqueya, which is split by Haiti and the Dominican Republic, right? And a lot of us know the wars that's kind of went over there for a period of time, but that's where his group of people are.
Mhm.
And a lot of people don't know that there was a population of African American people sent up there as a result of the Revolutionary War. So they went up there, which is why you see a lot of people with the last name Brown, Green, and they have a lot of English last names because of that. So after that, a lot of them migrated back here, and a lot of them just so happened to end up in South Carolina. So that's kind of the background story of my father's lineage, right? And for the people watching, per Numbers 1 verses 18, you are the lineage of your father. So although my mom is from the tribe of Judah, right, which would be the so-called African Americans, since my father is Dominican, or what we say is from the tribe of Simeon, that's why, I have this song. So
Okay.
Okay.
But you were born here.
born here,
States.
100%.
Okay.
Born and raised.
So basically, you taught yourself these tongues, these languages, correct?
So the Spanish and the English, having family members that, speak those respective languages, you growing up hearing those languages, I guess it's a subconscious mind type of thing. So they kind of just make the connections. But as far as like the Hebrew, the Korean, all of that, I taught myself, so to speak.
But I say it's a gift, brother.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here go, and I did, downplay your intelligence because you're a very intelligent guy. But also,
Appreciate
I
that.
just think it's a gift, man, because we live in an age where I'm an older guy,
Right.
old school, and I'm just amazed at some of these younger brothers like yourself who are waking up to this truth and seeing doctrine, not going to seminary,
Right.
and self-learn. And it's just amazing how the Most High is moving in this time and age. And it's just all the signs of the time, in my opinion.
I agree.
All right. Also, brother Yawanathan, I know that you're a history major, and I've seen the big bookcase of books that you got.
Right.
So tell us a little about the history that you've learned after, I guess you would say, school.
So I've learned a lot of things in history. If I were to try to go through the whole entire, I would say, catalog of the historical knowledge I've accumulated since then, we'd probably be here till tomorrow. But I guess in pertaining to the podcast and the subject, since we're y'all's people, more specifically, I would say I've learned a lot about our people in the diaspora, right? So I guess more pertaining to our people, you start understanding like the history of the Portuguese Jews and how they were kicked out from Spain and Portugal and whatnot. And you understand that although they were kicked out, they were still being persecuted and pursued by those Portuguese monarchs at the time, like King Alexander VI, and then King Henry VI of Portugal and Queen, I want to say Isabella as well, or Queen Elizabeth rather, excuse me. So you understand that, and then once they got to the African part, then on top of that, they had to face persecution from the Mohammedans. And they were, of course, a people of sub-Saharan African people who adhered to the tenets of Islam, right? So it kind of goes back into like the Deuteronomy 28 curses, which is probably a lot of what we were privy to and what caused us to come into the truth after reading those. You see it happening real time in a historical timeline sense, right? So when our people got to the western shores of Africa, Central Africa, and etc., the Hamitic African tribes, like the Mandinka, for example, they would treat our people like second-class citizens, right? They wouldn't allow them to have access to the same water sources as their native people. And if they didn't have a water source for us to have independently, then our people would just slap out of luck.
Wow.
Right. So of course, when you have the doctrine of discovery that's implemented, and the slave trade happens, when the conquistadors come to that particular part of the African continent, they're going to, of course, come across us because the people, they're not going to give up their own people for slavery, right? Unless they're like criminals or like people who are the undesirables of society. They're going to give up our people because we're foreigners. We're not from the same stock as them. So a good book I recommend everybody look at is The Black Jews of America by Tudor Parfit. And then there's a whole organization called the International Society for the Study of African Jewry. That's by Edith Bruder, and they have a lot of primary crap tested sources that substantiate that we're the people.
Okay. Okay.
So let me ask you about before you.
Right.
Ask. So now your history is pretty much all your self learning, or any kind of formal schooling, like any kind of college background.
No, sir.
Okay. Okay.
All of this is all independently done. I make sure all the sources that I get are primary sources, firsthand accounts, and I make sure they're crap tested. So, like it's .edu, .gov. This isn't like somebody in their basement like coming up with conspiracy theories.
Right.
This has like a stamp of approval by .edu or .gov type
Yeah,
of source.
because a lot of our brothers, man, they do study, but then it's not vetted.
Right.
So they're you could tell them anything, and then they pass it on without going through the research of making sure that what they're saying is true.
Right.
So it's good that you do that, brother.
So, brother, now through your walk in this faith, since what year is it?
2014.
Okay, so when it comes to family,
Right.
because all of us has an issue with, pretty much have an issue with family, as the scriptures say.
Oh yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about that? Is your family on board, or how they view you now?
So a lot of my family members, right, they tend to have the mainstream idea about our particular people who decide to identify as Israel, and that is that we're a cult. So of course they're not on board with it for that reason. And then not only due to societal pressure of the societal norm and having to adhere to that, they also have their own presuppositions and their own vices, I would say, for lack of better words, such as, eating of pork and engaging in like the pagan holidays and everything. So, because trying to come on this journey of truth would mean you would have to give up all of that, quite naturally, they're not going to be on board with it. So,
Right. That's same with me. What about you, brother?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of family members, again, they see it as a cult. It's totally different, and you try to show them in the scripture right there in black and white.
right.
But because of the tradition of Christianity, the roots were deep,
Yeah,
and it's hard to get them to sever it.
I agree.
Because what you have to do, though, and I know you guys have learned this over the years, is chop a little bit at a time.
Right.
It's spoon feed, and then hopefully, Most High would take it to another level.
100%.
I think for myself, when it comes to the word Christian, okay, the word Christian is a follower of Christ, right? But the thing is, we are trying to follow Christ. We're trying to actually do what he did and the disciples in the Bible. And they kept the laws, they kept the Sabbath day. But we're being demonized by our own people for doing what the Bible say, to obeying the Most High God. It's almost like it's crazy.
Yeah.
But we're the cult. But we're trying to act and be like the people in the book. And they want to demonize us for what unknown reason, but the reason is they don't understand the book themselves. So they're not really, for what I consider, a follower of Christ, even though they say. So you got anything to say about that too, brother?
Yeah, I mean, I know with my particular situation, my parent and her significant other, they are Christian preachers and, prophetesses and all this kind of stuff of modern day Protestant Christianity, right? So, of course, them going to seminary school, spending all this money in order to be taught how to interpret and give our people doctrine from that type of mindset or lens instead of reading the text and context from the people who actually wrote it. Of course, they have a different way of seeing our movement and what the scriptures actually say, right? So, like when you go to Jeremiah chapter 16, verse 19, it says that the Gentiles who, and this is inclusive of like your Asians, your Arabs, and also the people who have stolen our identity, they're going to come bowing before us, telling us that our fathers have inherited lies, right? So, with that being said, a lot of people in the Christian church say, everybody's equal. All the people who are Israel now are, the people who believe on Christ, right? There is no ethnicity no more. There's no Jew or Greek, as they would say it. So they are vehemently against our doctrine and what we preach because they don't believe there's going to be ethnic hierarchy at all. They believe that God's not dealing with his people, God's word. If he said it in the Old Testament, if it didn't happen then, now that the New Testament is here, it's not going to happen no more.
But it's in the New Testament too.
Exactly.
So, brother, what about your friends though? Now we talked about family. What about friends?
Friends, they definitely not on board either. You know, a lot of people who were like young, I would say in between like the 21 to like maybe 35 age range,
Mhm.
a lot of them are still trying to um, live out their, as what they would call their best life according to modern society standards. So the path that we've chosen is the straight and narrow. So a lot of them, even if they are aware of the fact that, you know, what we're saying is true, they're not going to actually apply that due to the convenience of modern society.
Okay.
So what led you to, you mentioned earlier that you're part of LOZ.
Right.
How did you get a part of that organization?
Funny enough, I reached out, speaking of friends, right? I reached out to one of my high school friends and I said, I know that your father is a Hebrew Israelite. He identifies as such, and I know he's been in there for a while, right? So I was like, I'm looking to try to congregate with people who have this same mindset. And I basically asked them to allow me to get in contact with him, you know, give him my number or I get his number and I try to, you know, congregate with him, see what organization he's affiliated with. So I remember I called him one day, he was cutting grass outside, right? And he said he was affiliated with LOZ. And then I think there was like a feast day that was coming up. I want to say it was Tabernacles, I think. And then he's like, yeah, man, just come on and we'll be glad to have you as a congregant. And then I like the family oriented environment that they showed me, the hospitality. And then from then on there, it's history.
Okay.
So now who is this person that
Oh man.
who is this person that you're talking about?
The person I'm referring to is Elijah, right?
Whose son is he?
Oh, the son that it would be you.
Right. Brother Yawanathan used to come over with my son. They went to school together and have, what y'all call them things back in the day, sleepovers or whatever. So he's one of my son's childhood friends, and and I was shocked that day when my son told me, because Yawanathan is, kind of quiet, he doesn't do. Now I know why you didn't hang out with them a lot. Now I know. Like before,
Right.
my son used to say, "Yeah, well, I'm gonna say Jonathan." He said Jonathan. Jonathan, he got something to do or whatever, whatever, whatever. And I was like, okay, whatever, because he was still kind of quiet back in high school days. But when my son told me that you was looking for a Hebrew Israelite group, I'm like, Jonathan, what? You got to be kidding me! I was shocked.
Yeah.
But see, that just goes to show you that every family, we are waking up, people.
Yeah.
We are waking up, people. It's gonna be one in every family, or more, especially as time goes on. And you never know how the Most High is gonna wake people up. And what comes along with that is what this brother shared today. Your family, your friends, are gonna look at you funny, crazy. But guess what? Yahweh Shah, who the world called Jesus Christ, said that was exactly gonna happen.
Right.
He said it. So, brother, we sure appreciate you coming on the show today. Do you have any more questions, brother, for him? Or you got anything else you want to say before we close out?
I would say that to everybody watching and listening, you know, if you're a part of the Christian church, just ask your pastor some questions. More namely, you know, does the ethnic Israelites of the Bible, does what God has promised them still matter, and is it still going to come to pass? And does identifying these people matter? And if he says no, I would really reconsider being a part of that church because the ethnic Israelites identifying who they are and them coming back to the law, statutes, and commandments is something that is necessary for the coming of who y'all call Jesus Christ, who we call Yahweh Shai. If we don't wake up the 12,000 from each tribe keeping these law, statutes, and commandments, then Jesus will never come back. So with that being said, that's all I have to say on my end. Unless y'all have any other questions for me.
No, but hey, brother, I'm glad that you heard the call
Mhm.
and didn't hit the snooze button,
Right.
and that you're in the truth, because we need more brothers like you. Because now we all believe in that Yahushua will come soon.
Mhm.
But if he tarry, me and this brother, we're getting a little older. It's going to be up to you guys to continue the journey and continue putting out the work.
Right.
So it's important that you guys continue to do that. And what you're doing, I commend you. And I just pray that, like my son, he's 17. He knows the truth, but he hadn't near on your level. But I just pray that your generation will begin to lead him so that others will come into this truth. And the sooner we can get that, the sooner Yahushua can come back and gather us out of this captivity.
Right.
That's right. And for all who don't know, there's a lot of young brothers in this truth. And they're out teaching. They're teaching at 20, 22, 23. They're teaching and know the scriptures better than a lot of pastors. Now, I'm not trying to say your pastor or pastors don't know anything,
Mhm.
but I'm talking about breaking down scripture because they're taught that way. And what the brother brought out, he has the history to go along with the scriptures to prove. So with that being said, we appreciate everybody tuning in. And if you brothers don't have any more questions, we thank you again. Please press the like and share and subscribe button. Shalom.
Shalom.
Trusting the plans, yeah, I had to be more considerate. Trampling my enemies, the top is where I'm heading in. All my problems, yeah, I had to shake it off.